Things are suddenly going very well for the Tar Heels. Why?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch to get your Thursday going. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, all our great Locked On Tar Heels insiders, and of course, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community. Coming up on the show today, we got our good buddy, Coach Bill Robinson, the head coach of the Milligan University Buffaloes, and a two-decade veteran of Carolina Basketball School, Carolina's summer basketball camp, which he's also written a book about. You need to pick it up right now. It's very easy to remember the name, Carolina Basketball School, CBS, which is a station we will all be tuned to for the month of March. Coach Rob is coming off a trip with Milligan, actually, to Chapel Hill. The JV plays Carolina's JV every year, and so that was this past weekend. We'll talk about that later on the show. Obviously, Carolina is playing a lot better, but there's still more to grow in. So I want to ask Coach Rob, what would you still like to see the Tar Heels improve on to be ready to defend the home floor against Duke in a couple of Saturdays? But before we get to all of that, Coach, Carolina is looking a lot better right now. They have 3 straight double-digit victories over ACC opponents, one of which was on the road in Tallahassee, a place where Carolina doesn't always fare so well. And so, yes, things are looking a lot better. And, you know, Coach, last time you and I talked, Carolina had handled NC State quite well. And we wondered, hey, was that a one-off or the start of something new? And so far, it appears that it's the start of something new. Why is that, in your opinion?
I think right now it's just the confidence that they're playing with. Obviously, Jalen Withers is playing incredible. And we've all felt like he's had that potential all along. He just hasn't been able to consistently do that, on a regular daily basis. But he is now. And the lineup finally seems to be set and secure. And that takes time. I know people think it's real easy to be able to set, lineups and see how they all work together. But it does take time to see how it all meshes together. But I think more than anything else, the mentality of, hey, we're a good basketball team. We've got great pieces. Now we're playing well together. It makes it a lot easier every day to go into practice, knowing a lineup set, you have a vision of exactly what's going on, and just go play. And I think that's what they're doing really well right now.
That's a great point. I feel like the role definition is at a place we haven't seen it all year, right? Like there have been guys in and out, but I mean, it feels so consistent right now of, you're going to get this starting 5 of Elliot, Cadeau, RJ Davis, Drake Powell at his more natural small forward position, Van Allen at the 5 and Jay Wood at the 4. You're going to have Seth and Ian and Jay Wash coming off the bench. And then we're going to sprinkle in some Cade Tyson, who suddenly looks very confident all of a sudden. Coach, let me ask you, we mentioned Drake Powell there. What does him sliding down to his more natural position at the small forward, how is that allowing him to flourish? Because it seems like, man, he's just doing so much right now.
Yeah, I think he's your Swiss Army knife. He does a little bit of everything, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be able to affect the game and to have a little bit bigger size, somebody who can handle the ball but also can defend bigger, can defend smaller. I've said this from day one. He can defend anybody. Just put him on the floor, put him against the best player, and just it takes away some of that responsibility for those guards to have to guard a bigger, better, wing. So I think there's a lot of things that go on with it. But again, you have one more guy who's very unselfish. He has no problem being the 5th option offensively, but yet also he can score when that time comes. So I just think he's super valuable. He's that junkyard dog that we've been talking about all year, just needing that intensity at the defensive end. And again, he doesn't look at the stat sheet to see what he's done. He looks at the stat sheet to see what the score is. And you have to have people on your team like that. Don't care about me. Let's worry about we.
Coach, one of the more confounding arcs for a player this season is Cade Tyson. He came in, somebody we expected to really, really help Carolina from the perimeter, but also somebody who came in having more buckets from 2 than 3 in his career at Belmont. It's no secret to any of us that it's been a struggle for most of this season for Cade. He hasn't looked confident. He's looked slow. He's been taken advantage of defensively. But here in this stretch, I mean, it's so weird. It's like everything's clicking all at once. He looks like a completely different player now. What is it, and why is that's happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you have to be on the inside to really know what's going on, and we're not. But from my personal view, I think he felt a huge amount of pressure early, thinking that he was going to be a starter,
Hmm.
and I don't think he was ready for it. Wasn't ready for the pace. Wasn't maybe even ready for the daily high level of talent that he had to play against every day. He has acclimated to that over the year, and now he's in a situation where he can relax and just know, hey, I'm going to get 8 to 10 minutes. I can go in there. If I get a good look, I take it, play defense, rebound, and you can empty your tank in 8 minutes. You don't have to wait, and you're not trying to save a little bit of energy for later. It's just all out for that short period of time. And I think he's adjusted to that role. And I think he's embraced that role. And
Yeah.
that's not easy to do. When you go from playing 30, 35 minutes a game to knowing I'm going to get 8, it does change your mentality and changes how you play. And I think he's finally figured that out.
And I loved in the Florida State game, again, against Florida State, who is known for their length and athleticism always. He missed those first 2 threes, but then he went and made an impact inside, coach, getting offensive rebounds, had a putback, getting some big boy rebounds, scoring at the rim. I mean, it's just like, okay, okay. And coach, I got to be honest, I had kind of given up. I was like, I think Cade Tyson just can't do it at this level like we thought. But now I'm starting to wonder, just thinking long term. I know we're talking right now, but long term, I think he may be a viable option to stick around. We'll see what Jim Tanner does as he comes in as the GM. But I mean, I think it's a viable option for Cade Tyson to be part of this roster again next year, and really now that he's found himself a little more, be able to contribute.
No, I definitely think that the coaching staff has seen things in practice we haven't. So the fact that they're still giving him minutes and that means he's doing something very worthy in practice against the best players for him to be able to still be in a rotation some. So that's what I have encouragement. I haven't seen it. You and I haven't seen it. We haven't been in
Right.
practice. We haven't
Right.
seen those opportunities, but he's obviously still earning minutes in those times where we can't see it. So that is encouraging for the future. And I think even the future that's in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, I think that's even the future that we're more focused on right now.
You hear that, Cade Tyson? That means you're supposed to hit 5 threes against Duke on Saturday, March 8th. And coach, just kudos to Cade Tyson, because this dude could hang his head and be frustrated and disappointed that this hasn't gone the way he hoped or anyone expected. But he has kept working and fighting. As you said, clearly he's doing it in practice to earn this time, because Coach Davis talks about that. And now he's out there and doing it. And I just, man, props to you, Cade Tyson. I know you're not hearing this or watching it, but we're proud of your effort. Coach, another thing here we talked about last week on the show was like, all right, Carolina has suddenly been shooting very well from 3. Is this a 2-game, just small sample size anomaly, or is this a new thing? Very much to your credit, you said, no, this late in the season, if you do that 2 games in a row, it's a thing. And now Carolina, since we last talked, has done it now 4 games in a row. Coach, they've taken their season 3-point shooting percentage as a team from 32.3 up to 34%. You don't just raise your season average 2% with nothing. And I mean, at this point, I think we have to expect that this is what this team's, they might have an off night, but this team is going to be able to hit from outside the rest of the season. And coach, here's what I want to ask you specifically about with it. In the last 4 games against Syracuse, 5 different Heels hit a 3. Against Virginia, against somebody before NC State, 5 different Tar Heels. Virginia, 4 different Tar Heels. And then at Florida State, 6 different Tar Heels hit a 3. How important is that variability of we got a bunch of diverse group of guys that can all hit?
Yeah, defending the 3-point line has changed, obviously, since I played, when you just didn't shoot a whole lot of them. I didn't even have the 3-point shot in high school. That's how old I am. But it does affect it because you do try to say, okay, this is their best 3-point shooter. We're not going to give him a look. We actually practice that and say, hey, this kid is all right. We're going to identify this guard or this player, and he can't get a 3-point. If he makes a shot from behind the arc, everybody runs. And you can't do that with a team when you got so many guys making shots and making shots. It's not just like you said, it's not just 4 guys on a night. It's consistently 4 or 5 or 6 guys on a night. So when it's consistently like that, that's when it opens up things internally. It opens up driving lanes. It opens up so much other things when you have to go out there and guard those guys. And it makes it very difficult on the defense to focus in on one guy.
More of that. Let's keep it rolling Saturday when Miami comes to town. By the way, RJ Davis's eyes are about this big seeing the Hurricanes coming into the Dean Dome where he set the Smith Center scoring record last year. Now, Coach, even though things are looking so much better right now, there is still much to work on. There's plenty to work on with Miami coming in, with heading to Virginia Tech next week. And then, of course, the Blue Devils coming to the Smith Center on Saturday, March 8th. So what are those things? What would Coach Rob still like to see Carolina improve on? We'll talk about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Roy. Hey, attention, Locked On Tar Heels fans. The future of college sports is here, and it's transparent. Before the Roy app, NIL negotiations often happened under the table, and fans didn't have a clear way to directly support the athletes they love. But now with Roy, you get to be a part of that change and support Tar Heel athletes in the most transparent way possible. Roy, the NIL app, allows you to choose the player you want to support, decide how much to contribute, and receive exclusive content from the athletes you back. The best part, if your player transfers, you get your money back. It's a risk-free way to show your support. The Roy app is giving you, the fans, control. No more uncertainty, because now you can provide transparent, impactful support and help shape the team and the future of college support with your contributions. Download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing Tar Heel athletes the way they deserve, with transparency, trust, and a real impact. This is the future of college sports. Join it now by downloading Roy and supporting your favorite players. Coach, while things are looking a lot better right now, and I guess, too, something we didn't recognize in segment one is some of that is Carolina's playing a different caliber of opponent right now, but still, you got to go out and do it, and they are. But what I want to ask next is, you're a coach, you're never satisfied, and I'm imagining that's the case with Coach Davis and the rest of the staff. To you right now, I'm sure there's a laundry list of things you would fix if you're Hubert Davis, but what's at the top of that list that Carolina still needs to shore up here down the home stretch?
To me, the biggest thing is offensive execution. I did get a chance to go to shoot around on Saturday and got a chance to spend a little time with Brad Frederick and just looking for anything that I can be better as a coach. And, you putting some new stuff in. And he said, yeah, we're putting a little tweak here, tweak there. But mostly it's offensive options, sets, different things late in the year where the scouting, let's be honest, the scouting is so different today, again, than it was when I was playing. Everybody has access to every possession of every game, and you can break it down, whatever, system that they use. So when you stand and yell a call, people know what's coming. So we did it too. We put in 2 new sets in last night, stuff that we haven't run all year. So when we yell a certain call come conference tournament time, there's no way the other team knows what's coming, because honestly, our guys are still struggling to figure out what we just put in. So, but that's kind of the thing I'd like to see. Let's run some new stuff. Let's run some different things. Let's put a little tweak here and there, a little twist to be able to run some stuff, to be able to get a fresh look offensively. Still like to see more movement with that. Some maybe some continuity stuff. That's part of what they were trying to put in on Saturday. Just get some movement where I hate to see guys just dribble and they just pound the air out of the basketball, and it's not good. It's just not good. It doesn't look good. It's not good basketball. So I'd love to be able to see them be more efficient at the offensive end.
And that's a lot of the stagnation that we had seen through a lot of the season, is things bogging down. It certainly has been better. Carolina has been at or above 1.3 points per possession each of the last 4 games, including a season high 1.5, Coach, against FSU. That's bonkers. For people that don't know, just know that is a crazy high level of offensive efficiency. But as Coach is saying here, there is always, always, always room for improvement. Speaking of which, Coach, let's go to the other side of the floor where, you and I have talked a lot this season about Carolina's defense. Right now, the Tar Heels sit at 76th in defensive efficiency at KenPom. That is not very good, while the offense is at 24th in the nation. You have asked quite repeatedly, I would love to see Carolina use more zone. I would like to see Carolina switch defenses throughout a game. I would like to see more pressure, which we've seen a little bit more of. Where are you at on that with the Tar Heels right now?
My opinion has not changed. From what I've heard from the inside, it's not going to happen. I just don't think Hubert's not comfortable with it. I mean, that's the word I got when I was down there. He's just not comfortable with it. And as a coach, if you're not comfortable with it, it's not something you're going to do. They did sprinkle it in here and there a little bit on against FSU the other night on Monday night, but I think that had to do with foul trouble more than it had to do with a philosophy of defense. So it's different on why you would use that when you got your big guys in trouble, foul trouble. You're trying to buy a possession or two to maybe get that clock a little bit lower. That's I think what happened on Monday. But again, I'd still like to see him do it. I'd still like to see a little bit of variation and change. And let's be honest, when it comes to Duke in a couple weeks, something different has to happen. You can't just sit there and just do the same old thing and expect it to be successful.
Yeah, that's a good word, and I'm glad you're able to bring us some insight from inside the mind of Coach Davis, because I know you guys talk about that a lot and have those kind of conversations. So yeah, I'm so glad you said that about Florida State on Monday night, because I think a lot of people probably watched that and thought, well, what are we talking about here? Clearly, Carolina went to zone for a long time in the first half there. Once Florida State was getting that 4-point lead, but that was because Carolina couldn't stop anybody. As Coach Rob said, both Van Allen Lubin and Jalen Washington in foul trouble. And so that was out of, as Coach said, let me just put a point on it, out of necessity, not out of philosophy. And I think that's an important distinction that Coach made there. Coach, is there anything else in your mind that Carolina specifically, like in terms of scheme or maybe personnel, something you'd like to see from individual players continue to grow in here in these final 3 regular season games?
Yeah, I think the other thing we emphasize at this time of year is the rebounding aspect of it. Florida State, I think we're second tallest team in the country
That's right.
behind Duke.
That's
Okay,
right.
you got two teams that are obviously long and athletic, and so this is the time of year. Take an assistant coach, put them underneath the goal, and say your only responsibility for this session is just to look for box outs. That's the only thing you're looking at, and call out guys who miss box out, whether that's a run down and back, or whether it's a minute on the treadmill or the bike or whatever it is. But really, really try to make sure you are finishing possessions, because this is the time of year you get physically tired, you get mentally tired. Guys start to miss on some of those fundamental things, and you've got to make sure they understand what the emphasis is for the day. And that's a big thing for me right now for the Heels is they can't just go rebound. They're going to have to put bodies. They're going to have to be fundamental. They're going to have to be disciplined in what they do at the defensive end to finish those possessions. And they just can't give up offensive rebounds in the next couple of weeks.
That's right. And they've been doing better with that lately. But as Coach said, you've got to continue. You can't just get fat and happy with it just because you've had some success. Carolina plus 19, plus 14, and plus 14 in rebounding margin the last 3 games. Their last 2 opponents, Virginia and Florida State, they've held to 3 and 4 offensive rebounds, respectively, which is the 2 lowest totals of the season. But again, the second you say, look at what we did, we got it held down. The second you do that, boom, here comes Miami. They got 15 offensive rebounds with 30 second chance points, and you're done, right? And so you got to continue to be disciplined on that. Now, Coach, here in a second, I do want to go to your trip to Chapel Hill, your opportunity to spend some time with the Tar Heels and your own Milligan Buffaloes there. But I do want to ask you, because I know that you and Coach Davis get to have a good bit of communication. You love this man well, and it came out on Tuesday of this week that he has signed a contract extension out through the 2029-30 season. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to just speak from your heart about what that means to you.
It's super exciting for me, and I wish we had heard about it earlier. I wouldn't have been so nervous for the last couple months. But I did get a chance to give him a hug after shoot around on Saturday, and just, hey, real quick, how you doing? And he said, I'm great, and I believed it. It is not like he was just handing me a line. You could hear it in his voice, you could see it in his face. He's doing great. He loves doing what he's doing. He loves his team. He loves each one of those guys and what he's doing. So I'm excited that he'll be able to continue to do it in the future. I think with the hiring of a GM and now getting more NIL money and seeing where the program's going, and he obviously can recruit. He develops great relationships with this guy. So I think it's going to be a great turn, and we'll see him back at the top of where we want them to be here in another year.
That's absolutely right. So Carolina still has a chance to do some special things this year if they can pull it all together. But really curious to see what is ahead with Carolina seemingly leading out amongst the nation in developing a full-on front office. And so I know Coach Rob and I are very interested to see how that's going to go over the next couple weeks and months. All right, guys, we do want to talk more about this trip that Coach Rob took to Chapel Hill this weekend, get some of his insights and experiences. Who'd you ride an elevator with? Who'd you sit by? All of those kind of fun conversations. We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Fabric. Look, folks, life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day, you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. I can't even begin to think about that right now. It breaks me down. Anyway, that's why securing your kid's future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get life term insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent, I want to make sure that my family is financially protected no matter what happens, and Fabric gives me that peace of mind. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's meet, fabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states, and prices are subject to underwriting and health questions. Coach Rob, it's become an annual tradition for the for the Milligan Buffaloes JV squad to head to Chapel Hill to play the North Carolina JV, which is famously known as one of the final JV squads in the nation at the D1 level. And, well, we got more to talk about with that here in a little bit, sadly. And, in fact, the Carolina JV team has actually come to Milligan before. Was it just the one time, Coach, that happened?
Yeah, just the one time. But Hubert was the head coach, so it makes it a cool event.
Oh, man, that's so fun. And so just want to start by just giving you the floor. Just tell us about your trip. How was the day? What all kind of things did you get to do? And then I'll come back with follow-up questions after that. My friend, the floor is yours.
It's just a great opportunity. Sadly, it does sound like it's going to be the last time, as the JV team will not be fielded anymore at Carolina. But just to be able to go in the Smith Center, I got there early enough where Porky Spencer and I got a chance to go in and shoot around a little bit. Got to watch the last 15, 20 minutes of shoot around and see as the guys prepared, and got a chance to, again, like I said, hang out a little bit with Brad Frederick at the end of it, get to talk a little bit. We become good friends. And then to take on the Carolina JV's really good. I think they ended up 12-1 this year, and had some guys that, I mean, they can really play. They would be stars at our level, guys who I think could be all conference players, but really good guys. So one of the cool things I was able to do is bring 6 or 7 books and just kind of hand them out. Steve Kirshner, sports information director, Joel James was there hanging out, gave Joel a book. Got to give a book to Leslie Davis, Hubert's wife. Got to see her in between games, and Dr. Berkner, the team doctor, and just being able to hand them out and just, hey, this is what I did, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But the big one, of course, was being able to give a hardback copy to Miss Williams.
Oh, wow.
With Coach and Miss Wanda, not because of me, but because of Porky. Porky obviously is like a son to Coach Williams, and they had one extra seat, so I was able to crash a little bit and get a chance to watch the game with them. One of the cool things is they always bring Coach Williams a stat sheet at every media timeout, and then he hands it to the guy behind him, and he looks at it, and they hand it to us, and we look at it, and then we hand it to the guy, and it's kind of cool to be part of that whole train of stat sheets going through the through the stands. But the cool, really, really neat thing for me is Pete Chilcutt and I have become friends. He is invited to a pregame. It's a sponsors reception. The sponsors that sponsor the game, and it's a full buffet, and we had barbecue, and just get a chance to hang out with Pete Chilcutt for an hour before the game and see how people come and respect him, and not just a Carolina player, former player, but a world champion with the Houston Rockets, played with Hakeem Olajuwon, and it's kind of cool to have a friend who say, "Hey, tell me a story about you and Hakeem," and he can tell you. So it's just a really fun opportunity. And then he was sitting in the same row with Henrik Rodel and Brian Reese, and Phil Ford was sitting in front of him, and just a really cool, just to be around those guys. It's just it's really special. It gives you energy as the season ends to go to an event like that. Now all of a sudden you come back and you're jacked up to coach in the conference tournament. So it just kind of fills your battery a little bit, and we're ready to go.
And I love that. And I want to ask about the conference tournament here in a second, by the way, that which is really neat. Last year, Coach, you and I after the game, we were same kind of thing. We had the very fortunate opportunity to sit right there in Coach Williams' section, walk down and out through the tunnel and rode up the elevator with Phil Ford after the game. And Coach, for those who haven't seen, I know you put up a really neat video on your social media of after the game, you just being down in the tunnel as the guys came off the floor there. What was that experience post game like?
Yeah, Porky actually left, and he said, "I'll meet you up by the offices." So got down the stairs and got in the tunnel, and I turned and looked, and the team started coming. So I wanted to get out of the way, but I got a chance to. Of course, Hubert after the game, he's got his game face on. He was straight to the locker room, but got a chance to dap up all the coaches again. Got a chance to see, and they're my friends, and that's why I root for them the way I do. If they were at a different school, I would root for their school because they're my friends.
That's right.
But tap up everybody and say hi to everybody, and then got to the elevator, and sure enough, here comes Phil Ford again, and ended up on the elevator with him 2 years in a row. And uh, one of the cool things, one of my former players, Tony Orr, and Phil have become really good, close, really good friends. They talk almost daily. Tony works with the Boys and Girls Club as a high end donor recruiter, so he spends a lot of time with big time people raising money for the Boys and Girls Club. So I said, hey, Phil, just want to let you know I was Tony Orr's college coach. And he said, oh, that's really cool. So, of course, I text Tony, and Tony's like, yeah, Phil just texted me, told me he ran into you. So,
That's great.
really cool to have one of my players and that kind of relationship with Phil Ford.
Man, that's special. Now, Coach, you are still a college coach as you're doing this. I know you were talking about those Milligan or the Carolina JV guys being really good and could be stars at your level. You do any little recruiting while you're there?
There's a couple guys I would definitely like to talk to, but I don't think they're going to be leaving Carolina anytime soon.
Oh, that's good stuff. Well, Coach, you mentioned it. Obviously it was talked about on the broadcast, and people are becoming aware that with the changes with revenue sharing and things like that with the athletes, it does sound like this is unfortunately going to be the last hurrah for the Carolina JV squad. I know this has been a big part of your life now for quite a while. What does that mean to you? What has this JV program meant to you, and what seems like the end of this era?
It's been almost 20 years that we've been taking our JVs down there, and it's a great recruiting tool for us to be able to tell these kids, hey, we're going to go down there, you get to play on the Smith Center floor, you get to stay, sit up in section 211 and watch the varsity game. So it's wild. I mean, last year they shot around early, so when we walked in, there was nobody in the Smith Center but me and my team. We walk in, there's 10 of us, and the place is completely empty. And then a couple hours later, it's filled with 22,000 people. It's just been a really special thing to be able to play on that floor and then to watch a game on that floor in the same day. It's going to be sad. And it is sad now. I did catch myself. We got blown out, by the way. It was 88-48. They killed us. But I have to admit, the last few minutes of the game, I'm just sitting there on the bench looking around, just trying to just soak everything in, knowing that this is probably the last time I sit on that bench as an opposing coach.
Oh, man. And obviously, folks, Coach Rob will be back in that building in the summers as he does Carolina basketball school. But it's different when you're there at camp. And as Coach said, when you're there as an opposing coach, it's just it's a sad thing, man, that this has been an institution at Carolina. And I know, again, a big part of Coach's life and the Milligan identity as well. And so we celebrate what it's been, but we grieve and we mourn its end for sure. Now, Coach, you mentioned conference tournament coming up for you as this show is airing on Thursday. Just let us know what's up with the Milligan varsity team right now.
Yeah, we got a first round bye, so those games are going on this afternoon here Wednesday as we film this. But Thursday night we'll play at 7:30. If we win, we'll play 8 o'clock on Friday night, and then championship game is 4 o'clock on Saturday. We play at the Meadowview Convention Center in Kingsport. They basically put a court down in a big ballroom, and they host AAU tournaments and things like that during the summer. So it's the same type of setup. We get changed in what's essentially just a room that they've partitioned off, and they put a whiteboard on the wall so we can draw up. But it's a very unique setting, and it's close to us. It's only 30 minutes away, so we're able to travel back and forth. But most of the other teams stay in the hotel, and they literally take the elevator down, get out, and they're right there on the court. So it's a great thing for kick sport. It brings fans and revenue to the area, but it is a little different for us because our guys are expected to be in class on Thursday morning, and nobody else is going to class. So, but I feel really good about our squad. We're playing really well. Anjay Tamba, the transfer we got from Weber State, is the defensive player of the year in our league. Jamie Pay was on the all defensive team. Mac Rivers, first team all conference. Anjay Tamba, first team all conference. Luke Lentz, all freshman team. And then we had a bunch of guys on the all academic team, way more academic guys than we've ever had too. So I'm proud of those guys too.
Yeah,
just can't list them all off.
It's been a
year.
Thanks for sharing all that, Coach, and the names of the guys too. It's good to be able to honor them and their success both in the classroom and on the floor this year, man. That's great. And I just want to publicly say how proud I am of you and the great job you've done this year. And I love, it's basically like Battle for Atlantis, right? Like just less exotic location playing in that ballroom there. Great luck to you and the Buffs this weekend. Can't wait to talk about it on the show next week and hopefully celebrate a Milligan Conference championship, but we'll see what happens, Coach. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for all your insights and sharing your stories from this past weekend. Love hearing all that. Folks, thank you for joining us on the show today. It's great to be together. Tomorrow, we will get ready for Miami coming to the Smith Center on Saturday. Man, the poor Hurricanes are in a world of hurt this year. You might say they're in the eye of their very own hurricane, and it's tough to see. Really hate that Jim Larinaga won't be in the building. That's going to be odd. It's going to be weird, but it is the case. If you've not subscribed to the show on YouTube, go ahead and do that right now. Just hit that subscribe button down there. Help us. We are less than 100 subscribers away from 10,000. Let's make that happen. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that's a great place to be with hundreds of other Carolina fans talking about UNC and just random life things all the time. It's so fun to be a part of. And if you want to go next level and have direct contact with me, you can join the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders program. Get great access to all of my stats and charts and data that I always reference. You get free access to that as part of the Insiders program and other perks as well. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We're going to talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.